Hey YouTube, Anna here. It has been a long time since I've talked to you guys. So, I really didn't have much to update you guys on prior to April 28th. That's a long time. It's been a while since I've sat down to do anything like this. So, after her first birthday, which was April 23rd, my husband and I started seriously talking about having a second child and what that sort of means in terms of breastfeeding, weaning. I was having clogged ducts all the time. She was down to like 2 feedings a day, 2 or 3. I think it was around 2 feedings a day. On April 28th, which is when I actually had my appointment with my fertility doctor. So we sat down with him. It was a sit-down appointment, and so I figured, like, he's not going to look at me, like, my vitals or anything like that. So we just sat down with him for a while, and he's like, so, you want another one? And I was like, yeah, I do. So he said, that's great. I will write you a prescription. What did we do last time? And so I said, well, I was taking bromocriptine to lower my prolactin, Clomid with an IUI, but I haven't had a period yet, and I've been breastfeeding, and I still am. And he's like, okay, if I prescribe you bromocriptine, you can't breastfeed. That's just, those two don't mix at all. And I said, okay, I'm willing to wean her, so, I mean, I would like to keep breastfeeding forever, but I'm willing to wean her. And so he wanted to get a baseline blood draw to see how things were going, and he wrote me the prescription for Provera to start my period, and Clomid, and he did an internal transvaginal ultrasound, so I got to see what my uterus looks like now, which was weird, because it looks full. It was like, it was like really, really full. I haven't had a period since I gave birth to my daughter, and it had been a year, so yeah, it was just full. And then, oh, and I could see my C-section divot, which was interesting. I didn't know what it was going to look like afterwards. Anyway, so I went to go get my blood work done, and he checked my A1C, like blood sugar stuff, my prolactin, and my thyroid. My thyroid was totally normal, which I've never had thyroid issues ever. When I was pregnant with her, they did put me on Synthroid. I think that's what it was called. And that was just because the fertility clinic likes to see it in a certain level, and mine was like just a little higher than that. My A1C was actually high, which did not surprise me at all because I was just eating garbage like I shouldn't be. Anyway, I gained a lot of weight. It was gross. I am now down to like what I was when I gave birth, which sounds like nothing changed, but like I went up a lot, and then now I'm back down. So I'm still working on that. And my prolactin was in the high 50 range, or maybe even 60. It was elevated for what it should be. Just to give you a heads up, I do have a pituitary tumor, and so I do have a history of high prolactin levels. So that was not shocking to me. Yeah, so I had the high 50s or 60s, and my prolactin level was checked 3 weeks out postpartum, and it was 50. And that's like when I started feeling crazy engorged, and I was like leaking all the time, which that never stopped for me, ever. For the entire year, I leaked. Every night, I leaked. During the day, I leaked. Yeah, so that just never stopped for me. So it was in the 50s, 60s, so that's sort of like how it was when my milk was really high, even though I was only breastfeeding twice a day. So my doctor called me back. Sorry, I'm reading my notes down here. That's why I'm looking. My doctor called me back and said, if you want to, you don't have to, but if you stop breastfeeding, give it 6 weeks for your body to adjust, and then we'll get your blood drawn again. But just once you're ready to wean her. And I was like, I'm ready. Am I ready? I'm ready. And so my husband was like, great, you're going to stop now? You know, you're done? And I was like, I need one last session to like breastfeed her to bed tonight and cry over it. And I did. And I just cuddled her for longer and just let her suckle forever. So, I mean, it was a nice goodbye breastfeeding session, and it kind of makes me sad. She, like, really doesn't, it didn't affect her at all. She never asked for milk, ever. Like, there was a few times, maybe around 8 or 9 months, that she would ask for milk. But other than that, she's not a milk drinker. She doesn't drink cow's milk. Yeah, she doesn't like milk. So I'm not worried about it. So yeah, once that stopped, I started my sort of calendar 6 weeks out. I will go get my blood drawn. She didn't ask for milk. Yesterday was the only day that she's asked for milk, by pulling my shirt down and trying to like latch to the top part of my chest. So, and she wasn't feeling well. So I know why she was asking for it. It was a pure comfort thing, not like a nutritional, like, oh, you're not feeding me, I'm not gaining weight type of thing. So, I was crazy engorged for a long time. It started to kind of like slow down, but I still was leaking milk, which is really annoying. Super annoying. So, and that happened around 2 weeks. I just sort of like stopped like getting engorged, and not being in pain anymore, but leaking, just consistently leaking, just a little bit, all the time. So, I called my doctor at 5.5 weeks, and I was like, I want to get my blood work done. Like, I want to get this show on the road. Let's do this. I'm tired of waiting. And he's like, okay, 5.5 weeks is fine. It's not going to make a huge difference. We'll go ahead and get a baseline blood draw, and we'll check your A1C, and we'll check your thyroid again, and your prolactin. And in that time, in the 5.5 weeks, I started eating way healthier, and I started losing weight, and I was like, check my A1C, I know it's going to be better, and it was. It went down like a point, half a point, something, where at first it was high, and they actually prescribed me metformin for it, but metformin does not agree with me at all, so I never picked up the prescription. And I decided to change my behaviors, and it worked because my A1C was now in an elevated section, but not in the high section. So I know that with continued work, my A1C will come down, and I will be fine. My thyroid's still normal. My prolactin, so 5.5 weeks of nothing, and my prolactin level was in the 40s. So still high prolactin, producing milk. I was annoyed. So the doctor said, you're sure you're not breastfeeding, right? Yes, of course, I'm not breastfeeding. And he said, okay, you can take bromocriptine, which I've taken before, and it kind of just upset my stomach a little bit. That was what I remembered about it the first time I took it. So I started taking bromocriptine, and he said, you have to take it for 30 days, for 1 month, and at the end of the 30 days, you can start your Provera to get your period. And I was like, shit, because I wanted a baby now. There was light at the end of the tunnel. It's only a month away, but when you're in the TTC world, in that mode of like, I want a baby, I want to be pregnant, any little setback is kind of like major, even though it really isn't in the grand scheme of things. So I felt like it was major, and I was like, but I tried to take a better approach about it and just say like, well, hopefully my hormone levels will go back to normal and I will ovulate on my own and I'll get my period. And like, I just tried to like not freak out that much and just say like, this is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. So I was taking it for a couple weeks, and then we went on vacation back to my home state of Oregon, visiting with family and friends, and I started getting ovulation symptoms. Cramping, EWCM, I felt like something was happening. So I told my husband, I need to go get some ovulation tests. And while I was in the store, I was like, and while I'm here, I should probably get some pregnancy tests, because if I see positive OPK, I'm going to be like, well, is this a positive OPK? Or is it like, I'm actually pregnant and like, this is great? So, of course, I come back with 2 boxes. Here are my OPKs, here are my pregnancy tests. And he's like, why'd you, okay, fine. So I took a pregnancy test immediately, and it was a blue dye, really cheap, like Walgreens test. And it came back positive. So I was like, oh my gosh. And then I took an OPK at the same time, and the OPK was like not positive, but there was a line there for sure. So I was like, it's not real, is it? So I, of course, took the other pregnancy test. I had a 3-pack of pregnancy tests. So I took my 2 pregnancy tests like back to back, and the second one came back negative. Like, no even faint blue line, nothing. So I knew that the first one was just a faulty, crappy test, which, like, always ticks me off, because why would you do that to women who are trying to conceive? It's not cool, man. And then the next day I took my OPK, and it was positive. Like, screaming from the rooftops, oh my god, this is positive. So I was freaking out. I was like, this hasn't happened to me in over a year. Like, ah! So I was super excited, and my husband was there for work, but he just commuted in and out of work, and so he was with me, and we, did the baby dance. And so I thought, like, okay, this is gonna be good. We're gonna get pregnant without any sort of intervention besides bromocriptine. Like, that's pretty good. Oh, let me back up. So I started taking the bromocriptine for the second time. The first time was when I got pregnant with Cecilia, and immediately I felt exhausted. Like, I would fall asleep just sitting there. Fall asleep. I had zero energy. I was like lethargic. Didn't want to move, didn't want to do anything, couldn't hold a conversation. My brain was in a fog. It was intense. And I was supposed to actually like drive 2 hours for an appointment for me for something else, and then like go drive my friend to the airport. And I had to ask, and I committed to all of that. And then I started taking this drug that made me crazy, and I couldn't drive. I couldn't at all. I would fall asleep at the wheel. I would kill myself and Cecilia. So I asked my husband to take us, and so sure enough, he took off work and drove us around, which was really nice. So yeah, that whole fogginess and craziness, I think, was caused by low blood pressure, because when I was at the doctor's office, I usually have a blood pressure of like 115/90. Like, that's normal for me, and it was like 91/71 or something like that. So for me, that's a very significant change, and it made me feel insane. So yeah, that only lasted a few days. It was like 4 or 5 days, and then I started to feel normal. Now when I take it at night. I just feel nauseous for a few hours, and then I'm good. So you're all caught up there. So I ovulated, and I was like, yeah, we have a chance. Yeah, I was excited. And now it is 9 DPO. I took a pregnancy test this morning. it was negative. And I was like, okay, I shouldn't be too bummed because like 9 DPO is way early, but that's the I was 9 DPO when I got pregnant, or when I found out I was pregnant with Cecilia. So I was like, if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna see it now. And so, I texted my friend, like, hey, I'm not pregnant. And Doug was already here, so he knew that I wasn't pregnant. And then I started getting intense cramps. Crazy backache, cramps, just like soreness. And I was like, oh, am I pregnant? Like, that's kind of what happens. You feel like you're getting your period. You get crampy, your boobs hurt, all that stuff. So I rushed in and I was like, okay, I'm not going to take another pregnancy test. I'm going to take an ovulation test and see what's going on. Before I even got to the ovulation test, I realized, nope, started my period. So I am 9 DPO. I am not pregnant, and I'm pretty sure today's going to be cycle day 1. So that's where we stand as of right this moment. We're going to still move forward with IUI, so I will be taking 100 milligrams of Clomid starting cycle day 3 through 7, and then I'll go in for my IUI, and I usually ovulate around cycle day 14 with Clomid. So looks like in like 2 weeks I'll be going in for an IUI. But I just want to give you guys an update now that I'm officially at the end of my first cycle since, or the beginning of my first cycle? Beginning. I should know this. I've been TTCing for so long, I should really know that. It's the beginning of my cycle. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to have another baby. Cecilia is super cute around babies that are younger than her because she will run up to them and go, ee, which I think is so cute. Yeah, so I think she's ready too. And yeah, so I will keep you guys posted on anything else that happens. I hope you guys are all doing well. Congratulations to those of you who have your BFPs, and keep trying for those that are still out there TTCing. Yeah, all right, love you guys.